Good morning, everybody, to our NOAA Climate and Global Change Postdoctoral Fellow question and answer sessions. This webinar is going to consist of a couple of slides just to give you a background of what we require from postdocs before they apply for this position. But before I start the slides, I do want to just point you to the bottom of your screen. So below the slides that you're seeing right now is an area where you can fill in questions. Please fill in questions as they come up to you during the sessions, as well as when we get to the Q&A session. This is the only way you can ask us questions, so please use the Slido at the bottom to ask questions. We're going to spend just a couple of minutes on the background and use most of the time that we have today for questions and answers. I am Cindy Bruhier, and I'm the Deputy Director for SPS-CPAESS in UCAR. And I also would like to ask Jenny, our Program Manager, to introduce herself.
I'm Jenny Sells. I work for the NOAA Climate Program Office on the NOAA side.
Thank you very much, Jenny. And today we have two panelists with us that is also on our steering committee that select our fellows, Dr. Emily Fisher and Dr. John Chang, and I would ask them both to please introduce themselves.
We are not able to turn on our videos. The host has stopped that. There we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Fisher. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Atmospheric Science at Colorado State University. I am also a past fellow, and I'm happy to have you here. I'm happy to answer questions, and that's that. John?
Good morning, everyone. I'm John Chang. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Geography at University of California, Berkeley. I was a past fellow as well, and I was also on the steering committee for the past 3 years. I've recently just stepped off. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you very much for our panelists for joining us today. And with that, we're going to directly start with the short slides that we have prepared for you today. First of all, the first piece that we want to cover today is what is the applicant eligibility to apply for this position? And there's a couple of those. First of all, we do require that applicants move to a new institute. So you cannot stay at your institute where you're currently doing your PhD. We want applicants to have a PhD for no more than 3 years by the time they apply. And we also want applicants to have to finish their PhD by the 1st of December of the year that they are awarded, and then start by the 2nd Monday in December. So that means for our applicants that is applying for our 2023 cohort, we need you to start by the 2nd Monday in December of 2023. You can start as soon as you have heard that you have received a fellowship, but just no later than the 2nd Monday in December. Applicants that are not completed will not be considered. So this is really important. And we're going to show you all the details that we are requiring in a couple of slides, but do know that if you do not have all of those, specifically your references, we will not consider the packet complete. And then the last two, your new host has to be in the United States, but you do not have to hold US citizenship. We also have a couple of requirements for the hosts. And for that, I am going to turn over to Jenny.
Thanks, Cindy. This year, applicants may not apply with departments that are serving as a primary host for first-year fellows. And for clarity, we've listed those departments on this slide, and I believe they're also listed on the website. And so those include 2 departments at MIT, 2 departments or areas at University of Washington, 1 department at Purdue University, 1 department at UC Irvine, 1 department at Georgia Tech, and 1 department at University of Utah. And one more thing I want to say about hosts, I've been getting this question. Your host does not need to be listed on the UCAR website as a registered host. You can apply with any institution or organization in the US. They do not need to be listed on the UCAR website.
Thanks, Jenny. And I think the last thing that we do want to say on this slide as well is you can have 2 hosts. That is allowed, but we do want them to fill in a single packet and a single letter of intent. Now, here is the application materials that we require of you, and you would see there's 8 of those. The first 7 we would like as one PDF. So get all your documents together, compile them as a single PDF before you upload them in our Workday system. So the 7 pieces that you need to compile as one document is a cover letter, your CV, and that includes your list of publications, your PhD dissertation abstract and title. And if you have not finished your PhD, this is a good time to start writing that abstract for your dissertation if you have not done so. So we do require that abstract. And then for what you propose to do in your PhD, we need a titled project description of no more than 5 pages. We do want to know what or how your proposed project is relevant to NOAA, also just 1 page. And then we need an inclusion statement from you that is a DE&I statement. In other words, what have you done in the space of inclusion and what do you plan to do in the future? And then we also need your host material packet. And as Jenny just said, they do not have to be in our database, but we like it if they register, but they don't have to be. The last piece that we need from you is 4 references. That does not have to be part of your package. The way we want them is we're going to ask you to give us 4 contact details for your references, and we will contact them and ask them to fill in a questionnaire for us rather than a reference letter like traditional. Do know that it is your responsibility to make sure that your references know this questionnaire is coming their way and that they need to fill it in by the deadline. Otherwise, your packet will not be completed. And then lastly, how do we assess our applicants? And we assessed our applicants on the relevance and fit of your proposed project, the quality of your project, the quality of your academic record, the references that we get, your leadership and service, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. And then the last thing I do want to mention before we go to question and answer is the benefits that you would get for applying to this fellowship. Remember, I said that we do require you to relocate, and because of that, we also offer relocation assistance of up to $3,500, and that would be cost reimbursable assistance. We have a $8,000 a year travel, publication, and miscellaneous allowance per fellow. This is an amount that rolls over from year to year. So if you do not use your full $8,000 in year 1, which is very typical because you have just started, you can roll the remaining money over to year 2. And if you have some publications that's outstanding, by the time you finished your fellowship, you can actually use that after you have finished your fellowship, as long as it's relevant to the fellowship. UCAR provides a stipend to help offset the cost of a home office. And our fellows qualify for that as well. And that is $1,500 for the first year and $750 for the second year, that you can use in any which way you want to offset the cost of setting up a home office for yourself. We have health, dental, and vision plans, life insurance, flexible spending accounts, as well as retirement accounts. And the retirement benefits are 5% of your salary goes towards retirement planning, and UCAR will contribute another 10% of your salary towards your retirement plans. We provide 20 days a year of paid time off, 60 hours of sick leave a year, and this can be used if you are sick or if a family member is sick. We have 10 paid holidays during the year. We do have parental leave, and we also have dependent care assistance. And with that, I want to switch over to the question sections. And I see we have a couple of questions already, but please go ahead and continue to add your questions.
Cindy or Ginny, are you able to answer Diana's question of how we're handling COVID-19 impacts on this fellowship?
Ginny, do you want to take a stab at that one?
Sure. So as of this year, we're still maintaining the requirement or rule that the applicants should be within 3 years of their PhD. Do you want me to take the next question as well?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next question, does this mean that applicants may not apply to the departments that are primary hosts, or from departments that are primary hosts for first-year fellows? So this means that applicants should not apply to those departments and seek out hosts from those departments. And so if you are a PhD student in that department, you can certainly apply to the fellowship, but you need to seek out a host that is at a different institution and in a different department.
We're just trying to make sure that 1 or 2 or 3 academic departments doesn't end up with all the postdoc fellowships. You see Laura's question. I intend to propose investigating how climate change conditions may predict future disease risk for vulnerable species. Would a proposal that applies climate models to answer questions in ecology, biology, be considered for this fellowship? Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And so while John and I are here to do a Q&A for you, the steering committee, so the team that reviews the applications, contains expertise that would be relevant here. It's just that you have 2 atmospheric scientists today answering the questions. Could you provide an example of a compelling reason for not moving to a new institution? Switching fields or departments completely might be compelling. But it's strongly discouraged not to move institutions. Can you think of another example, John or Ginny?
No, I think you got that. I can't think of another reason. But yeah, like Emily says, we strongly discourage. If at all possible, you should move to a new institution.
Yeah, totally agree on that one.
And I think some of that, and maybe the steering committee can speak to this, is in the review criteria, the program seeks out candidates that are pursuing independent research and kind of establishing themselves as independent from their mentor or original department.
Right, and this program is structured to provide the support resources needed to make a big move for your postdoc to gain a new network, new skills, and become more independent. So it's one of the underlying goals. Please feel free. There aren't that many questions coming in. I'm sure you have them. So please feel free to keep popping them in here. We can also elaborate a bit on other questions. So, but yeah, keep popping them in the box.
I can ask a question while.
Here's another one from Lily. Do you want to go ahead, Ginny, though? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I can ask. I can fill in the space and ask questions, but I think since we have participant questions, let's answer those.
So from Lily, can you say more about the host institution and advisor requirements? Should fellows not apply to work at any institution with a current NOAA fellow, or just an institution with a first year? So just the first year, right? Because by the time you got there with a second year fellow, you wouldn't be overlapping with them. So we're trying to, it's a 2-year fellowship. And so we're just trying to make sure that fellows are not overlapping in the same department, the same institution. So you can look just the institutions that Ginny or Cindy, sorry, whoever put that up, whoever of you put that up in the beginning, those are the ones to avoid for this round of applications. That's where the first year fellows are right now.
And it's just the departments in that institution. So you can apply to another department at that institution, but we don't want multiple fellows in the same department within an institution.
But don't feel so limited by that. There are only 8 of those, and there is a wonderful network of colleagues across the US that would be probably more than happy to host you. Okay, so can you apply to an institution you belonged to before, but not where you got your PhD? Yes, I think that would be fine. Yep, so like if you did your undergraduate degree or your master's degree, then you could come back. Are there program officers? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I can answer this one. So the question is, are there program officers willing to comment on the fitness of a particular proposal for the program's goals if provided before the deadline? So this year we did slightly edit the language to include impacts and coupled human systems. And fellows have already kind of been funded under that scope, but we are answering kind of broad questions in terms of topics. Is this topic relevant to the C&GC competition? We would not look at your proposal and tell you whether or not the proposal itself is in scope of the C&GC program. And Emily, do you want to? I don't know if anyone contacts the steering committee.
No, not usually. Usually it goes through one of you, would go through one of you, and if you were needed a second thought on it, then you'd reach out to, well, formerly Dennis, but now me. But yeah, usually it's very rare. Usually it can just be handled as, is this topic relevant? Nobody looks at the proposals ahead of the competition. John, do you want to say anything? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, that's right. We don't really look at everything. We don't look at application until everyone has its application submitted.
Correct. And if you have any doubts about your proposal, do send it to myself or Jenny, and we will make sure that the right people see them and get you an answer. But again, not the proposal, just the topic.
All right, so let's take, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to read the next question, and perhaps the steering committee wants to answer it. So the next question is, do you have any advice for writing a good proposal? What are the steering committee members looking for?
John, you're smiling. Do you want to take that one to start?
You're on mute, Emily.
Sure. I mean, I can start, and Emily should chime in as well. But yeah, that's a great question. So things on the top of my head. Obviously, you want the proposal to be addressing as like a timely question, it's like a significant question. Not one of the things we ask is what will we learn from your research? It also has to be doable, in a sense. It's a 2-year postdoc, so you can't propose anything that's like 5 or 10 years. But obviously, you don't want to propose something that's too small. So just it's a project that is doable within the time frame of the fellowship. Let's see, what else is there? Emily, do you have any thoughts?
Right, we're reading these for, is it relevant? Is it addressing an important problem? Do you have clear hypotheses, objectives, and a clear plan to meet those in a 2-year time frame? So those are the things that we're typically looking for. The way these are reviewed is individuals from the steering committee are reading them, and then there's a discussion, and then there's a rubric for that. So if I were you, if you have access, not even just to proposals from prior fellows, but to proposals that have been successful to any federal agency, these are shorter. The ones for this fellowship are shorter, but just having the opportunity to look at successful proposals, to think about how to structure that, I think is a good idea to prepare yourself for writing this one.
And I'll also just add that we're looking for novelty and creativity. So for example, if your proposal is like a modest extension of your PhD thesis, that probably wouldn't read very well. We expect people to build up, but then it should be something that is a significant advance on what you've been doing, and not just a repetition.
Right, exactly. All right.
I have one more point.
Yeah.
So the proposal is only 5 pages, so it's pretty short. So what I would say is, the things I would say you emphasize is focus on why the problem is significant. In terms of methodology, give enough detail so that the committee can figure out what you're doing. You don't have to do a blow-by-blow aspect of your research, but do give enough detail so that the committee can see how you're going to approach the problem.
So this next one, my dissertation is not primarily climate related, but my postdoc proposal would be a change of subject relating to paleoceanography. Oh, I think that's fine. That's fine. That the proposal is focused on a climate problem.
Yes, I agree.
Yep, that's fine. Caleb, that's fine. Cover letter. So the cover letter should introduce us to you, what you did during your PhD, what you want to do for your postdoc, why that's a good fit for your professional development. And I think that would be pretty sufficient. I think it would be fine also, given that many of you have been COVID impacted during your PhDs, to tell us in a sentence or two if there's something we should know about the pandemic and your trajectory. I think that would be a good letter. John, anything else that I missed there?
No, I think you covered it.
So Ginny or Cindy, do you want to answer the question on how many applications you typically receive? Are we allowed to do that? I'm not positive? It's a lot.
Yeah, we can answer that one. And I think we typically, Jenny, you have a longer history with the program, but we typically run like 80 to 100, just over 100 applicants. So it is a very competitive process. And we do get a large number of applicants for the 8 slots that we have.
Oh, hang on. I think there was a question that we missed between that one that was above that. Whoever's running the Slido, I think one question just disappeared. Is there a possibility to pull that back? What are the most common reasons for applicants being unsuccessful? Yeah, I think that we didn't answer that one, right? So here, there's so many reasons, but usually it's a poorly done proposal. There also needs to be some track record of productivity during your PhD, a strong record of productivity. And we're also looking for some kind of evidence of leadership. So, but I would say the most common reason, and John, again, like in my view, the most common reason is usually the strength of the proposal.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I think keep in mind the applications that we get are spectacular. So it's very, very competitive. So, you know, it's like yeah.
And that's not meant to discourage you. That's meant to encourage you. And if you don't get it, it's not really a knock on you, right? It's very, very hard for us. We can usually whittle it down to 20. And then it's very, very hard from there forward because the caliber of the applications is just so high. There's so many talented people that we're inspired by as we're reading them. Do you, Ginny or Cindy, want to answer this one about national labs, the specifics on that?
We have had applicants that was at national labs in the past. So as a general rule, we do not rule that out. I can take the next one as well in terms of the visa question. Yes, we do have an immigration office that can help with the visa process. Each one of these cases are unique. So it's literally a case of working with our immigration office, and they would help you step by step through this. I think if you think you have a really complicated case that might cause you problems, that might be something for us to even have a question out to our immigration officer as you put your packet together, so that they can give you some feedback on if there's any red flags that they see, or if there's anything that they could advise you to do before you even apply or as you apply. So I think reach out if you think it's a really complicated case.
So we see this question from Claire. Are there preliminary results expected in the proposal? No, not in general, but great if you were to have them. But that would also be a bit of a flag maybe to us that you are extending a work that you're currently doing. So that's a balance there. But at the same time, they're not expected. And how much do you expect the host research background to overlap with the proposal? Or can we propose to do something relatively novel for both of us? I think it would be fine to propose to do something relatively novel for the both of you, as long as you are able to just articulate those methods, as John said, so that it's a strong proposal, and the reviewers, which is us, are able to get behind that and get excited about it and be confident that while it's a new direction for you, you're certainly capable of completing it. Anything else, John, that you would say on that one?
Yeah, I think, you know, whenever you propose something, there are arguments for why your hypothesis is plausible. So to that extent, if you have preliminary results that can show plausibility, I think that's a useful thing. But it's certainly not required. You know, you can always make an argument for a hypothesis based on past work by others, and so on and so forth. So I think that's I would view it in that sense. So with the host, one thing we do look for is that given the proposal that you're making, is the host a good fit for your topic? So with regards to the specific question, if the host is interested and has these sort of relevant tools and so on and so forth to assist you with that research, I think that's fine. So, but when we look at a host, and we do look at the host in the sense of is this a good match for you?
John, do you want to take this next one from Ginny, or do you want me to give some thoughts first?
Oh, sure. Let's see now. So Jenny asks, can you talk about what a successful excellent diversity inclusion statement might look like at this point in the student's postdoc or career?
I have some ideas.
Yeah, Emily, why don't you go ahead and I can.
Okay, while you think through it too. So I would think about this as I'd be looking for this statement to have more than a shallow understanding of the sort of severe diversity and inclusion challenges that our field faces. So what are these challenges? Why are they important? And then I would be looking for something that was specific to that person. So not so generic, right? So each of us brings a lot of different identities to the table, and each of us can contribute to solutions on the diversity, equity, inclusion, justice front in a variety of different ways. But they're usually based on who we are and what's sort of natural to us, sort of the experiences we have, the issues that we see, where we feel most comfortable being part of the solution, right? So I'm looking here for things that are specific, and they can be both in the recent past, or you could also have done really good, thorough conversations with the place that you're going, and you have a pretty concrete plan on how you would work toward goals that they have or contribute new initiatives or something like that. So it's specific in that way, I think, is what I would aim for.
Yes, I would agree. So specificity in both what you have done in the past and also what you propose to do for your postdoc, I think are good ways to for successful statement. One thing we noted anecdotally is that we noted with international applicants that oftentimes they don't detail this aspect of their career. So, and maybe perhaps this is a cultural difference between international applicants and US applicants. So I think if you're international, you might want to pay more attention to this.
Yes. So I agree with that. That's a great statement. And it seems some of our international applicants are a little bit less aware of some of these issues in a US context. And so it would be good for you to learn a little bit about that to understand what we would be thinking of here. That being said, Europe also has diversity and inclusion issues, and these happen everywhere in the world, but it would be good for our international candidates to learn a little bit about the US context, I think. Is there anything else, folks?
It does look like we have a little bit of a lull in the questions at the moment. I actually want to open it up to our panelists and to Ginny. Is there something that we have not touched on today that you think is important for our future fellows to know?
I can ask more questions. I'm trying to put myself in a kind of a PhD student space. So let's say, and I can't answer these questions because I'm not a steering committee member. Let's say I'm a student and I did a lot of field work in my PhD. And so I'm not really coming out with a lot of publications. They're either in prep or they're in review. Is that taken into account in the quality of academic record and research experience, or how else could I show leadership there?
John, do you want to answer? Yeah,
Sure.
sorry.
I would say that we do normalize for time from PhD as when in the publications process. That someone who's already had, let's say, 2 years of postdoc experience already applying would by naturally have a more extensive publications record, and we do recognize that. We do like to see some publications so that there is a record of it's like published research as part of your application. I think that really strengthens it. But we don't, on the other hand, we don't expect a whole bunch of them. It's really, I think quality is important. And yeah, Emily?
Yeah, and I think, keep in mind, imaginary PhD student, Ginny, that that the committee, right, many of us have also done PhDs with a lot of field work. So we have a good understanding of the time that it takes and the effort that can be put into field work versus other endeavors, right? So there's a good diversity across the steering committee who reviews the applications. There's both, there's programmatic, there's sort of programmatic or disciplinary diversity, and also methodological diversity in there. Is it advisable to list publications in prep as in prep? Yes. Yes. You should show us, Tanya, what you have, your best foot forward of what you have. And if you have sort of an estimated date of when you think they'll be submitted, that would be great too. Yeah, to let us know, or let us be able to have some visibility, right, into your productivity. You want to give us as much information about your productivity as you can. Oh, in review? Yep, put that on there. Yep. Because that is a submitted publication signals to us that it's at a certain stage in its finality, right? Like it's showing us that you are in this process of moving research through, shepherding research through the entire process. Trying to think of, oh, there's another one. What is the criteria for those who have taken a break between their PhD and the time they are applying to this fellowship? Oh, that's a question for Ginny or Cindy.
I can start with that, Jenny, if you want to have some additional comments. I think one of the things that I would like to see in a cover letter is for you to explain this break. Why did you take a break? One of the typical things that we would see, for instance, is somebody has expanded the family and needed to take the break to do this. Somebody has taken an opportunity to do additional field work. So I think it is fine to have that break. Just cover it in your cover letter and explain the break that you've had. Ginny, additional comments? You're muted, Jenny.
We've only been doing this for 3 years. I would just endorse what Cindy said. There are lots of reasons. Another reason is you took a policy fellowship, or you tried out a kind of a non-academic path and found out it wasn't exactly what you're interested in, or there are many reasons. So I would just explain those in the cover letter, as Cindy mentioned.
I would also say we're usually not looking for like, oh, you are going to graduate in January and you took 3 months to move somewhere, and like, we're not looking at anything with that level of granularity. So I don't, breaks are, what might feel long and ambiguous to you, when for us will feel like a short time in a long career. So yeah, don't get too stressed out about small breaks. Does the committee ever read our PhD publications as part of the selection process? John's smiling. It depends on who it is, I would say. Do you want to answer that?
The short answer is yes, we do as we are able to, and especially when we go in deeper into the process, that we we have to start really separating the top candidates. Then we start reading what they wrote.
Yeah, so I would say the answer is not every publication, but yes, occasionally key ones are looked at for sure. How are non-first author papers considered on your CV? I imagine this might show academic range. It does. It shows your ability to collaborate, work on teams, but I wouldn't say that those are a substitute for ones that you have led yourself. So it is important that you are leading as a first author as well. Do you want to add anything, John, there?
No, I think you got that. Yeah, I mean, it is important to show academic range, that's for sure, and your ability to collaborate.
And I think that how many of those does vary quite a bit across the different subdisciplines in the climate sciences. And, those of you who are part of large field campaign teams, yeah, that's pretty common that we see that on CVs. Sorry, you can tell I have a little sore throat coming in. For broader impact section, can I add other disciplinary collaborators to achieve my initiative? Science journalist. Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Outreach definitely would be quite good.
Mm-hmm. Yep, great. Think about other disciplinary collaborators, other languages. Yeah, awesome. Can you elaborate on how to write about future interaction collaboration with NOAA? Can you think of a good example of that? So I can think of lots of different ways this could come up, right? I'll give you some examples from atmospheric chemistry to give you some ideas here, and then John can add to. You might be better representing a process in a model. So your research may allow us to better understand and then better represent a process in a model. And that there could be a way for you to either directly or indirectly move that into some operational NOAA setting. Your work could use new satellite retrievals of species that are, and then the way you use that data and could have a feedback on the retrieval improvement. So you could be working with the team that actually makes that data. You're analyzing the data and you're in constant communication there. You could write a proposal that where you add on to become a part of an existing NOAA field program. In atmospheric chemistry, NOAA is leading, and actually in other sub-atmospheric science fields, NOAA might be leading field work. You could bring a new instrumentation to that adds to the larger team. There's lots of different ways that this can look. John, do you have other examples to help them think through it?
Yeah, so for example, if you work in a hurricane impact or hurricane prediction, let's say you have a new methodology, then you can obviously tie that with current efforts at the operational labs for improving predictions or impacts. But I think, yeah, I would take a good look at the NOAA webpage because I think Jenny can elaborate on that, but they elaborate on what their priorities are and what sort of institutions, resources they have. So it's a good way to actually think about by looking through the web pages.
Yeah, and not every proposal has a specific collaboration or interaction with NOAA, your kind of research can be relevant to NOAA's larger goals, and then you can give a presentation to a specific group that's working on something that they would be interested in what you're working on and learning from what you're working on. So I would say don't feel like you need to email the National Hurricane Center and say, hey, can I like work on the hurricane model or anything? And I think I'm representing that correctly. The steering committee can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm happy to also send NOAA resources if you want to email me with your specific topic. And I think on Emily's point, I think it's important to be careful if you're interested in adding on to a field campaign and bringing something new and doing new creative independent research. I think that is good and successful. If the research will happen with or without you, that proposal may not be successful and be viewed as independent.
Yes. Yeah. So just thank you, Jenny. It is not good for you to propose something that will happen regardless. You want to be expanding, taking advantage of, adding new, bringing more to the table, filling in gaps, that kind of thing on field programs that are underway. You also want to, just to add one more point to that I think is important for these things, you also want to make sure that you can still be successful if that larger mission delays for a year, right? Because so you also want to make sure that you're, it's a bit of a balance of trying to make sure that you can operate somewhat independently if needed. Anything else? I know we're almost at 50 minutes here, but we're here ready to answer questions. So if you have one, pop it in the chat. We'll do our best, or pop it in the Slido. I think that's it.
I think that is definitely it. It seems very quiet on the Slido. I'm just going to share my screen for 1 second again. I want you to know that you can reach out to us at any time. Please feel free. I've put both Jenny and my contact details on there. You can always go back to the website as well to get information or review this one again. And please do send us your questions if you have any. And thank you very much for joining us today. And I do want to say thank you to our panelists and to Jenny for joining us as well and answering the absolutely fantastic questions that we got today. And then for our team that has supported us in the background, our multimedia team, thank you very much for hosting this for us today. And with that, I will close the Q&A.
Cindy, we can't see your screen that you were sharing there. So
thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, it says you've started, so maybe just stop and start again if there's something, or we could put in the chat if you want to give them a link or your contact information.
Okay, thanks for letting me know that. I'm just going to pop them back up again here. Technology.
There we go.
Okay, can you see those? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's our email addresses. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time. And as I said before, if we can't answer them, we'll make sure it gets to somebody that can.
Thanks, everybody, and good luck with your applications and this stressful final year of finishing your PhD. You can do it.